Thank you, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for joining this Modena Server live webinar. Today, we will talk about Modena Server, what is, and we will show how to use it from a user perspective. My name is Mauro Barbieri. I'm a field sales engineer at Biamp, and I'm talking from Modena, from the Italian office. And today with me, we have Giulio.
Hello, welcome everybody, also from me. My name is Giulio Ferrari. I'm a technical support specialist at Biamp, also based in Italy. And yes, today we will see the Modena server at work and how to really use the system in a real situation like the one we are in. It will be a live demo, so only a quick look at the setup and the configuration of the system, but really the core of the webinar, the presentation will be a live scenario like the one that we are in now. So the agenda for today, we will see a quick introduction to the system to understand what is the Modena server and what it can do for you. And we will quickly see the setup of the room that we're using for the demo today for the webinar. We will use the web interface, web admin of the Modena server to enter the configuration and set up the room and the rooms that we will use today. Then the main use case of this system, it's collaboration in impromptu meetings. We will then see the unique feature that is called Multicam, and we will make a call, a UC call using Zoom with our colleague Ian to really show you what you can do with the system also in a video conference. Then we will review a few additional features of the Modena server, and then there will be time for Q&A at the end of the webinar. The webinar will be around 35 minutes, so we will have time at the end to answer all the questions. In the meantime, please feel free to send the questions in the chat, and we will answer them all at the end of the presentation. So let's start.
Thank you, Giulio. So the subject is, what is Modena Server? Modena Server is a new generation wireless presentation system. While the traditional wireless presentation are installed in the meeting rooms, and when you need to run a presentation session, you need to go to the meeting room where you have the equipment, the display on the wall, the room display, and the wireless presentation system to be used to share your content with your colleagues. But what if you need to share some content outside the meeting room? So like when you are in your office, for example, and you are together with some colleagues, and need to share a PDF file or a PowerPoint, and you don't have a display on the wall. So this is what Modena server can help you. So in this case, for example, you can connect to a Modena server room that is available on the network and start sharing your PowerPoint and ask your colleague to connect to the same Modena server room and reach you on that server room for receiving your content. So what we say is that Modena server is always with you. With the traditional wireless presentation server, you need to go where the wireless presentation system is installed, but with Modena server, you always have the possibility to connect to a room and share your content. And this is possible, of course, in your office, but not only in the office. So in every co-working space or in a coffee corner, for example. And the magic of Modena server is that it's providing support for 7 teams with one single device. So in one single Modena server unit, you have the support for 7 rooms and 7 teams that can run presentation sessions at the same time.
So looking at the setup of the room that we are in, indeed we are in one of the scenarios that Mauro just described. This is in fact the coffee room of the Biamp offices in Italy, a place where you can have a break for a few minutes. And so in a place like this, there's no real room equipment, nearly zero. In this case, there's no display on the wall, there's no video system, no cameras, no audio system. So it's really a table, a couple of chairs, and today it's the two of us. And we did bring our devices. So as an example, Mauro brought his Windows laptop. I brought an Apple tablet. It could have been a smartphone. All of us carry a smartphone in our pockets or in our hands most of the time. So we do have devices with us. And this is the only thing that we need to be able to collaborate in a space like this. And then there's the brain of the system, the Modena server. You don't see it, and it's not physically in this room. Let me explain why. So I have a spare unit here with me, and if you're familiar with the Modena product family, this is very similar to the Modena Hub. The chassis is the same, the hardware is similar, but on the back we have a major difference. Here we don't have the USB, the HDMI, and the antennas that we have on the Modena Hub and Hub Plus. Rather, we have a single network Ethernet port and, of course, the power supply. And that's it. This is because the server is really meant to be installed in a server room in the data center of the company. The Modena server is, as the name suggests, is a server, a provider of resources that can be used throughout the company. The Ethernet connection is the only link you need to connect the Modena server to the company network, and through the Wi-Fi, to the company Wi-Fi, you can use the system from anywhere in the company, just with your devices. So again, very informal situation, typical of a coffee room when you're having a quick break. We have our devices, a cup of good Italian coffee, and that's all we need. And we have here a small courtesy sign. It's something that can be helpful because it contains the IP address of the Modena server and some instructions for people that are in the room on hints on how to connect and use the system. And in a minute, we're going to see how this can be helpful for us.
Yes, but before starting with the demo, we need to apply some configuration to Modena server. We need to configure the rooms, to create the rooms. As we said before, Modena server is able to provide support to 7 different teams and is able to manage 7 different rooms with a single box. And we need to configure that rooms first. And we need to create a strategy for assigning that rooms to single person. For example, I can assign a room to myself that I can use wherever I am in the company and I need the space to share content with my colleagues, I can use that room. Or we can assign rooms to a department. For example, a room for the sales or the marketing, and the marketing team, wherever they are, they can use one Modena server room, the marketing room. Or we can assign a room to a specific project, for example, webinars, like a room that can be used for anyone running webinars, in our case, or even rooms assigned to physical space. So a room dedicated for the coffee corner, for example. So now let's have a look about how to configure the rooms on Modena server. First of all, I need to use the browser and connect to the Modena server unit. As Giulio said before, we have a courtesy sign here telling me what is the IP address of the Modena server. The IP address is 10.32.12.17. I connect my Chrome browser. This is the welcome page of the Modena server, and on the top right corner I have 3 dots that open a small menu where I can find the admin entry. So I select the admin entry. The default password for the admin configuration console is admin. And this is the configuration page for Modena Server, where I can configure everything about the unit. But what I need to do now is to create the rooms. This is the default configuration where I can find only one room and the name is room 1, but I want to change the name for this room and I will call this room webinars. So let me select webinars. It is the room that we are going to use today. But also at the same time, I can click on the plus icon and create another room, for example, my personal room. I create one room for me, one room for Giulio, so he can use this room for his meetings, and maybe another room for the developers. This is just some example about the strategy for assigning the rooms, but this depends on the organization and depends on the needs of the users. And as a last room, we can create the room for the coffee corner. And as you can see in the room configuration page, I can enable or disable the password protection. What is the password protection? You can join the meeting on the room only if you know the passcode. Otherwise, you cannot join the presentation session, and this protects the content from anyone that want to connect but is not allowed. And of course, we can remove this protection. In this way, we open the room to anyone. Anyone is able to join. But with the passcode, you need a passcode, a 4-digit number to join the meeting. With the Modena Hub, the traditional Modena Hub wireless presentation system, the passcode is on the display. So on the room display, you can read the display, the passcode, and only if you are inside the meeting room, you can join the meeting. In our case, we don't have a display. So you have to ask the passcode to the participants that are already connected. The first participant creates the session and creates a new passcode on the fly every time. And when you join a meeting, you need to ask to the first participant what is the passcode. That in that way, you can join. So we leave the passcode enabled for this room, select apply, and I confirm the last room. I can create up to 7 rooms, so there is space for creating other rooms, but this is just an example for some possible strategy for assigning the rooms.
So we just saw how easy it is to create the necessary resources, the rooms that you like, up to 7 for different people, teams, or projects in your company. Now we're really going to see how the system works. And the scenario is just the one that we are in now, coffee room, and maybe we are discussing some projects together with Mauro, and he wants to show me something from his laptop, the screen from his laptop, or some kind of data, some kind of charts or graphics regarding the project that we are discussing. We have a couple of different options. We can stop the meeting here and move to a proper meeting room. Meeting rooms needs to be reserved, and then we would need to schedule a meeting, and so it becomes a completely different thing. Why we want to collaborate here in a more impromptu way. Another idea could be that I can just walk, and sit side by side with Mauro, and the two of us looking at a single screen. Doable, but not very comfortable, not very effective, and in times of COVID, even not recommended or forbidden, so not a good solution. he could just turn his laptop toward me, and I could then see the screen of the laptop, but then Mauro couldn't anymore. So not very good solution. And Modena Server really is the answer to this need. It's a system that let us collaborate in a very natural and effective way here, without having to move to different places, without having to do anything else than using our devices. And speaking of devices, as I mentioned, we came with a laptop and a tablet. We didn't have to do anything else. The devices are connected to the company Wi-Fi, so we have connection here. There's no need to plug cables to wire anything or use buttons or dongles. Nothing else is needed, just our devices. So let's see how the system works.
So let's start with the demo. First of all, we need the software. We need the Modena app. We need the Modena app for sharing content over Modena Server. The app is exactly the same app that we can use with the Modena Hub, so it's a unified user interface that we can use with the whole Modena product family. So both Modena Hub and Modena Server can be used with the same software. And again, I'm going to connect the browser to the IP address of the Modena Server. 12.17. And as you can see now, the home page is different because it contains the list of the rooms that we created on Modena Server. But again, I will open the three dots menu on the top right. And the first entry of the menu is download the app. This is the internal repository of Modena Server, where I can find all the software that I need for using Modena Server. So the Windows app, the macOS app, the apps that I use for sending a presentation, for sharing the presentation with my colleagues. Then I also have the links to the Android app and iOS app on the Google Play or the App Store. And at the bottom of the page, I have the possibility to download the drivers for using the audio video kit. But let's start with the Windows app. I can download the Windows app from here and install it on the system. In my case, I already downloaded the app, and I have the link on my desktop. I can start the app, and now the app is in the tray area. Is this 9 dots icon? And when I click on the icon, a small toolbar appears with the list of the available rooms on the network. So, as I said before, this app is the same for using both Modena Hub Plus, and Modena Server. And so this list contains all the rooms available from the Modena product family installed on the network. So the Modena fleet that is available on the network is contained in this list, and they have some Modena Hub room, but also the rooms that we created before on Modena Server. Now I'm going to select the webinars room, that is the room that I created for the webinars project. And the toolbar changed, showing me a play button for starting the presentation, and also the 9 dots icon turns blue, telling me that I started the session, and I also created a new passcode. Now I click on the present button, and I'm start sharing my desktop to the webinars room, and now I can open some content for sharing the content with my colleagues.
Okay, so now Mauro is sharing the screen from his laptop, and I want to receive it on my end, on my device. So I have the Modena app already installed. I downloaded it from the App Store. You can do the same from the Google Play Store in case you have an Android tablet or smartphone. And I can just tap it to open the interface. And now I can see a list of all the available rooms that matches the list that Mauro just saw on the desktop system. And I can see that the webinars is in bold. It means that that room is in use. And if I try and connect, then I'm immediately requested the passcode. As Mauro mentioned, the passcode is a way to prevent someone from the room next to us by joining and seeing the content, stealing the content of the meeting from another place. So only people that are physically in this room can receive the presentation and collaborate. So Mauro, what's the passcode?
The passcode for this meeting is available on the toolbar of my Modena app. In this case, it's 4164.
Okay, now it's connected. And I'm receiving the content of the screen from the laptop. And so it's easy and very handy to collaborate in this way, because I can just sit at my place without having to move to a different chair, different position. I can just sip my coffee and use my device right in front of me. So very pleasant and effective experience. What if I want to present myself from here, from this device? That's it's really easy. I can tap on the three dots, and in the menu that appears here, I have a present option. Now it's asking for permission. The OS is asking for my permission to share the screen, so I can start. And after a 3, 2, 1 countdown, I'm sharing the content from my iPad in this case.
And I'm receiving the Julia content on my laptop. So now we swap the roles.
Sharing from here, and Mauro is receiving content from my iPad.
Very well. So now we can close the session.
So as you just saw, it's really easy, just a matter of 2 clicks or taps on the tablet, and we can collaborate even in a place that has nothing else, no room equipment, again, no display, nothing else. And we're just here, and we don't have to do anything else than start sharing and receiving, and we can swap roles just like that. Very, very easy and effective system. So let's now see the next feature of the Modena server.
Yeah, the next feature is the Multicam. And what is Multicam? Let's imagine that now we are running this session on Modena server, but we need to call a remote end. So we can start a new C client, no problem. But we have more or less the same problem as before. We can sit very close each other and use the webcam on the laptop, no problem, and call a colleague, for example. But what if we are 4 people instead of 2? It's not very easy to use the same camera and to stay 4 people in the same frame. Not very easy, not very comfortable. And for this reason, Modena server offers the Multicam feature. Multicam means that we can enable our webcam of our personal device. Up to 4 personal devices can be involved in the Multicam. We can start the video from the integrated webcam, sending all the feeds to the Modena server that combine up to 4 feeds and send back the 4 feeds together in a mosaic to the UC platform. So at the end, we can use Zoom, Teams, or WebEx with a single picture containing up to 4 different webcams video. And in this way, the remote end receive a clear view about what is who are in the meeting. And so it's a very comfortable replacement in case we don't have a group camera. But let's see how it works. So first of all, I click again on the Modena app icon, and I start a new session on the webinars room. and I start presenting. And so now I'm sending content to every colleague, every participant that can receive this desktop on a tablet or smartphone, as we saw before. Now I start Zoom, and in the Zoom configuration, I can select the video that I want to use. So I go on the video section, and instead of using the integrated camera, like I see in this moment, I can switch to the Modena video device. And in this case, Modena video device is sending me a black screen because until now, we didn't configure any personal camera to send content to Modena server, but it's very easy. On the Modena app, I can click to on this icon that is add my camera. So I can add my camera to the Modena server multicam stream. In this case, I simply am using the same integrated camera, nothing special, but the magic of the multicam starts now when the other participant can join this multicam stream with their webcam.
So I am now connecting again using the Modena app. I will connect to the webinars room just as before. I need the passcode from Mauro.
Yes, the new passcode is 5157.
Passcode has changed because it's a new session. It changes every time. And now we're receiving, as before, a copy of the screen from Mauro's laptop. And I can just tap now on the three dots here, and I have a new option here in the menu, which is Add My Camera. I'm going to tap it, and then I'm starting to send the stream from my camera, the camera from my device here, to the Modena server, and from there to the meeting, to the Zoom call.
Yeah, so in this moment, what is happening? That my laptop and the Giulio tablet are sending their integrated camera stream to Modena server. Modena server is putting together the two streams and are sending back a single feed for the UC platform. And as you can see on Zoom, we can use this feed for the remote call. The remote end will receive this feed, so a clear picture of me in a very good frame, and the same for Giulio. But let's start the call. We are going to call our colleague Ian to simulate what is happening with the UC platform. So I join the room where Ian is waiting for us. Hi Ian, how are you? Very good, very good.
Hi Ian.
Good to see you. Yes, we are using Multicam. Very good. So as you can see now, Ian is able to see both of us, even if you are not framed in one single webcam. So thank you, Ian, for this chance to show how it works. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Now I'm going to close the call. And
so we just saw how easy it is to not only collaborate on in the same room, sharing content with one another, and sharing and retrieving content on the devices, but also if you want to extend the meeting, the collaboration with the remote end, you can do that. And we mentioned that we have no cameras here in the room, but actually we do, and it's there in our devices. We have very good camera here and very close to us. We can keep the devices here right in front of us in our hands, and we will be framed just from a perfect point. So why not using this the power of the devices that we have? And Modena server is doing just this. So very easy for local collaboration and remote video conferencing too. So
very important to add is that Multicam is available on one of the Modena server rooms. So on Modena server, you have the possibility to enable one Multicam.
And if you have more than 2 participants, the image, the stream will adapt to the number of people that you have in the meeting. If you have 4, it will be agreed with 4 people. But you can also change the layout. For example, have the person that is talking in that specific moment in a bigger area, and then smaller previews of the other participants, smaller images of the other participants. So very flexible system that really also really easy to use like this. And to cover a few other features of the Modena server, well, first let me say that there's also a very good interface on the browser for the presentation. To send and receive the presentation, you can just use the browser by connecting to the Modena server IP and selecting the room that you want to use. So no installation on setup of the application is required, only just a normal web browser, and you can start collaborating just like that. And then you heard us mentioning several times today that we have no display here in this room, but what if we were in another room, maybe huddle room, where you do have a display? Can you use that also with the Modena server? And the answer is yes. Whether it's a native smart TV with Android on board, or just a normal display with HDMI ports to connect an Android dongle like a Fire TV Stick or NVIDIA Shield, or even a room PC like a Nook PC connected to the HDMI display in the room. Well, in all these cases, you can use that display as another device in the room. So enjoy the presentation not only on the participants' devices, but also on one or more displays that are installed in the room. So you don't need a display, but you can use a display if you have one in a room. Very, very flexible system. Then Modena server is also a powerful management system for the fleet of Modena Hub and Hub Plus that you have in the company. If you have a single Modena unit, it's easy. You can just connect to the web administration and do everything from there. If you have 3, 5, 10, 100 units, then it becomes annoying and time-consuming to having to connect to all the units. And Modena server is providing a good system to do this, to manage everything from a single place. From here, by connecting to the same interface that we just saw when creating the room, you can check the health and status of all the units that are in the network. You can schedule software firmware updates, and you have a place for centralized configuration. And also you can push updates to all the units, for example, or units of a certain floor in the company. Maybe you want to customize with the company colors and the company logo, all the units. You can do that from here directly. And reboot the Modena units remotely as needed. System monitoring means that from here you have complete control on what's happening on the Modena Hub and Hub Plus in your fleet, from checking the network status, checking the IPs that were assigned to the unit, the status of the room, and if there's a session ongoing, how many participants, if someone is presenting, and so on. All the information are in a single place for the joy of IT manager and admins. It's easy to check from here if a unit is down, not reachable, and check the status and the health of all the units. You can also reach the single unit to configure, for example, the connected peripherals, cameras, mic, and speakers, but also the HDMI connection. So really go deep into the configuration of a single Modena Hub or Hub Plus unit, again, just from a web browser. And we mentioned the Modena Hub a few times during the webinar. If you're familiar with that, that's great. If not, you may want to have a look at this recording of a webinar that Maura and I did just a few weeks ago. It's a live demo, just like the one that we did today with the server. Half an hour more or less showing what you can achieve and what the Modena Hub and Hub Plus can do for you. So a good resource, and you will find the link in today's webinar resources. It's good if you want to know something more about the Modena Hub. Last but not least, the Biamp website, so biamp.com, where you can find information, data sheets, resources about the Modena Hub, Hub Plus, and Modena Server. A lot of information, and then the technical counterpart, Cornerstone, support.biamp.com, where you can find more technical articles on how to configure, install, and deploy the Modena product family for the best performances and best results. And of course, feel free to reach us with any questions. Now we have time for Q&A if there are questions. Otherwise, you can write an email directly to us or to support@biamp.com. Reach us, and we'll be happy to answer all the questions regarding the Modena product family. Ian, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks again, guys, for the great presentation. The questions we have, there's a few that have come in, nice, interesting questions. One from Enrique. He's asking, the mobile devices that you're using when you're connected together in a classic server application, do they send and receive audio as well as the video?
No, they don't. Audio is handled on the desktop when you're using the UC client. So in this case, we were using the audio from the desktop, or you can connect an external speaker or another device for the audio, depending on the situation that you're in. Typically, when it's only 2-3 people, the local audio from the laptop is more than enough.
Yeah, and in case of a presentation session, since say the product was designed with people sharing the same physical space, the audio of the transmitting device is just enough. So if Giulio wants to share something from the tablet to my laptop, we can listen to the audio directly from the tablet because we are in the same physical space.
Okay, thank you for that. Stephen has asked a question, can Modena Server operate across a client WAN, so wide area network? For example, a large corporation that has multiple sites with networks linking their sites together.
Yeah, good question. Yes, it could, because the only requirement is network visibility. So if you have a network visibility, you can connect your devices to the Modena Server. You can install Modena Server in one building and use it from another building, or in theory, you can also share content to people that are connected from different places. But remember that the design of the product was made thinking about people that share the same physical space. So me and Giulio in the coffee corner, or together with other 3-4 colleagues in one office in the lobby of the company. Yes, it's possible to reach both Modena Server or the the session from every part of the network, but the most of the Modena server service you can get when you are in the same space, in the same meeting place.
I think that's the idea. Is probably that to summarize that the rooms are resources that are shared through the network of the company, but within a room that is a session that is happening locally in a physical space, like the coffee room that we're in, or a huddle room, or even a hotel lounge, but a physical space where people are close together.
Got it, thanks. I think, Stephen, if you have a particular application in mind, it might be worth reaching out to Mauro or Giulio and or to support@biamp.com and explain the requirement you have, because it obviously depends on the network infrastructure and how that is actually connected, from what I understand. So we've got I think there's a clarification on the reply which you gave to Enrique earlier on about the mobile devices sending and receiving audio. Stephen is asking, maybe there's a slight misunderstanding, because he's saying it's clearly impractical because there won't be any audio channel to communicate. I think maybe, Stephen, you might have misunderstood, but in this case, the PC that was in use in the coffee room at the Modena office, the audio from that PC is being transmitted to the far end during a UC call, if I'm correct. So it means that Giulio's tablet, for example, the audio from that is not fed to the far end, but the PC in the situation is. What? Just a question for you guys, if I'm correct on that assumption, what if you just have 2 or 3 tablets in your server meeting and you make a UC call? Is there any audio in that situation or not?
The host computer should be must be a laptop or either a Windows or Mac laptop. The computer is hosting the video conference. That allows selection of the Modena virtual driver that we need for the call. And then the other devices can be tablets, smartphones, or other laptops, no problem. But tablets and smartphone will not handle the audio.
I understand, yeah. Okay, thanks for that reply. There's a question from Lloyd, and I think this might be, I beg your pardon, before we do that, question from Brian. It's actually a Modena Hub or Hub Plus question. So can the Hub or Hub Plus handle multiple cameras or just one USB camera? And then if it can do multiple cameras, can I pick which camera I'm using on the fly? I'm guessing he means during his UC call.
Yeah, you can connect multiple camera to the Modena Hub or Modena Hub Plus using a USB hub, and in the configuration panel, you can select the camera that you want to stream to the Modena driver. So the answer is that yes, you can connect more camera, but you cannot switch the camera on the fly. And I can tell you that this kind of suggestion to switch the camera, to be able to switch the camera, is a great idea, is a suggestion that we received. And yes, it's a good idea, and for sure we will think about it.
Great, thank you. And then Lloyd is asking, how does it work in the physical room, and how many Modenas can be installed in one floor? So I think he's asking the question, in your room that you're in right now, you're having a meeting between your 2 devices, but you're in the same room. So he's asking, how does it work in the physical room? So where is the Modena server physically, and how many can be installed in one floor or one network, I think he means.
Yeah, let's say that the added value of the Modena product family is that we have different products for equipping different use cases, and we can freely mix the products. So we have Modena Hub and Modena Hub Plus. The difference between Modena Hub and Hub Plus is that the Hub Plus has an additional integrated access point, mostly used for offering a guest access. So we can install Modena Hub and Modena Hub Plus in the meeting rooms. So from other room to medium and large meeting rooms, and connect that hubs to the camera, the room display, and the room audio system. At the same time, we can have a modern server that can manage the modern hub and hub plus installed in the building, and offering some rooms that we can use outside the meeting spaces. So like in this example, or in the lobby, in the offices, and we can install more modern server. Every modern server is providing 7 rooms, but if we want, for example, to assign a room to every office, to every person, we can install more modern servers in the network. So there's no limit. The ideal configuration is to have one modern hub or hub plus in every meeting room, and one or more modern server to equip the teams, the marketing, sales, production, and so on, the projects, the people, and depending on the organization. And as Giulio said before, we can also have some spaces, some, let's say, lightly equipped space with some display, and connect that display over the network to a modern server room. So we can have a display here, thanks to an Android TV dongle or an PC, we can connect to a modern server room. So in this way, we can blanket the company. We can provide wireless presentation systems everywhere. So in every corner of the company, in every office, in every meeting spaces, with the 3 products of the Modena family, we can completely cover any wireless presentation needs of the company. And there's no limit about the number of modern hub and hub plus that we can install, and no limit for the modern server that we can install. Then it's possible to create some clusters, floors, buildings, and this is an advanced configuration, and we are happy to discuss this. So maybe Ian, if you give us the link or the email address, we can arrange a call for discussing a more advanced configuration.
Yes, absolutely. I'll forward those the email address from Lloyd to you. But Lloyd, also, if you would prefer, you can reach out to your local sales rep or email support@biamp.com at any time with your requirements, and our colleagues will be able to help you through that step by step. And the same with Enrique. If you are not happy for the with the answer you've received so far, then obviously a one-to-one conversation would be far better served, I think. So anyway, that ends the questions that we've got from the table from the participants today. So thanks again, guys, for your time, and I'll leave you to wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you to all the participants for your time and for joining this webinar. I hope to see you soon to the next Biamp webinar. So thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ian, for your help, and see you at the next time.
Bye-bye.